Let's talk about this one particular flavor of anxiety. So this is anxiety that is hard to pick up because on the surface, everything looks fine, right? So this is someone who has anxiety, but is able to manage the symptoms, mask it, and not show that there's like this incredible anxiety internally. And so it doesn't look like there's anything going on. And yet, high-functioning anxiety takes a big toll on the individual, right? So this can be someone who's like put together, smart, successful, achieving, and doing everything, and yet really having a lot of internal anxiety. It's not like an official type of anxiety. It's not like an official diagnosis, but this is like a subtype, right? This is a way we can differentiate like by how people deal with anxiety, right? This is people who mask their anxiety really well. And why is this happening, right? So this can happen because of just generally having anxiety, right? So brain chemistry, genetics, neurodevelopment, all kinds of things like that, right? Just anything that increases your risk for having anxiety overall, right? But also there might be some particular types of things that push someone towards manifesting their anxiety in this particular way. So it could be having particular childhood environment, like a environment that's maybe unstable, or there's some neglect, or there's a very critical relationship with like a key caregiver, and maybe there's some trauma, right? Or like severe stress in these formative years, or maybe big stressful life events early in childhood. And that can set off this, like, I have to keep it all together, and like I have to do my best to like make things run, but with still a lot of anxiety internally. And in adult life, it can be something like a big change, or job change, relationship change, breakup, or something like that, that like, pulls the rug out and pushes someone into like suddenly really having a lot of anxiety. There's also maybe certain personality traits that contribute, like being just a very sensitive person, but also being very conscientious, also being prone to stress. So that's just how quickly your amygdala reacts. All of that might contribute. And also certain thought patterns, right? So, the default mode network is just constantly running some thought patterns. And if those thought patterns drive worry and drive anxiety, right? So things like catastrophizing, overthinking, perfectionism, then that may result in anxiety, right? And so also, like, what are some symptoms? So people with high functioning anxiety may look like they're doing great, right? But they also could show both emotional and physical symptoms. So the emotional symptoms, the mind symptoms, is overthinking, right? So analyzing, thinking, ruminating, looping on things, right? Perfectionism also, right? So having these like extremely high standards for oneself and everybody else, fearing failure and like pursuing that perfection. It could also be people pleasing, right? So that's putting other people's needs over one's own, and this like intense fear of like rejection or criticism. Also fear of failure, right? So being so scared of making a mistake or not meeting expectations, and needing a lot of external validation and affirmation from other people. You're okay, you're doing great, you're awesome, right? Not being able to give that to oneself or not need it, right? There are physical symptoms too. It could be trouble with sleep, right? So can't fall asleep, can't stay asleep, racing thoughts at night. It could be things like habits, nail biting, pulling skin, pulling hair, things like that. It could be not able to relax, restless, tapping, bouncing, things like that. Or it could be like very tense muscles, and that can result in like headaches, GI issues, all kinds of chronic stress symptoms that come from being very tense. And if on the surface someone like that is doing well, but internally they are driven by fear rather than like pleasure, love, excitement, engagement, that's like not great quality of life, right? So if this is someone in your life or this is you, I feel for sure I've had periods in my life where this was me, right? What to do, how to manage this. So this could be, a comprehensive approach, like to any anxiety disorder, right? It's big. It affects a lot of different things. So it may need like a big approach, a comprehensive approach that includes lifestyle and potentially also medication and therapy, right? So there are a bunch of medication options for anxiety. I discussed those in other videos, and maybe they play a role, but that's like a sliver of the pie. It's just one of the tools in the toolbox. Therapy might be very important. So therapy, the main like key therapy for anxiety is CBT, right? Has the most evidence. It helps you to learn like, okay, these are, the trigger, these are the thoughts, these are the distortions in these thoughts, those are the emotions that result. How can we reframe this thought and make it more balanced, right? And practicing to find a way to eventually do it fast and do it automatically, to not even get into these extreme ways of thinking and to have just like a more balanced thought pattern overall. Also, I'm a big believer in mindfulness and all these like mind, body, and lifestyle approaches. So someone with this flavor of anxiety, this high functioning, intense anxiety, may in particular benefit from mindfulness, right? Or it could be maybe slow yoga or, guided relaxation exercises. They may want to do some killer yoga, but actually they may benefit more from like slow restorative yoga and staying in one pose, right? And not applying the overachieving and anxiety to whatever else they are doing, right? There are also some more contemporary therapy approaches that might be very useful. I love IFS, internal family system, acceptance and commitment therapy. These are different ways, there are many paths that lead to feeling better. So it's figuring out like what works for you. What does your therapist provide? What can you access? And the next big thing is lifestyle, right? So exercise, I discussed that in other videos. Exercise helps, right? Exercise can reduce anxiety. So you choose your own, right? Like it could be running, it could be yoga, it could be weightlifting or boxing, but any exercise will help. Also eating well, right? So nutritious food, avoiding junk, avoiding excessive caffeine, keeping your blood sugar steady, all of that can help you. And not poisoning yourself with food will help too, for most things. Sleeping enough, right? Like learning to value sleep, right? Someone with this high functioning anxiety might be like, I don't need to sleep, I gotta do work, right? And sleep very little. That's not great. It adds up, right? So it's okay to sleep. It's really good to sleep. It's like anti-aging and protects your brain and you feel well. So prioritizing sleep and figuring out how to get good sleep. And also, very important for someone with this flavor of anxiety to have excellent self-care, right? And to know how to take care of oneself, how to relax, how to rest, how to make time for fun, how to make time for social life, how to grow in self-compassion, how to be kind to oneself, right? How to be as kind to oneself as one is to other people, right? How to kind of soften all of these perfectionistic expectations and like accept being human, accept the world as it is, accept oneself. The other thing also is support, right? So having love, having friends, having people who love you, even if you're not like constantly productive and efficient, and with whom you can just have fun and relax and have, you know, human touch and hugs, that's really helpful too, right? So overall, this is a particular flavor of anxiety, very common in New York City, right? Like very common in the populations I tend to see, smart, high achieving, talented people, right? Maybe with childhood trauma that resulted in this like perfectionistic way of being, right? In a way that developed to like survive and adapt. But you know, with age, like it can be taxing, and it can, you know, I see in some of my patients, right, it goes into like migraines and chronic stomach issues, right? So really, it's like unwinding the root causes and, you know, going through like a fundamental life assessment of like, how do you want to live, right? How do you want to be? Like, this is it, like, right? This is your life. This is my life, right? Like, do we want to spend it like all that, like tense? Gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta get perfect, gotta get validation, cannot fail, right? If it's at the cost of being healthy and well, right? Versus do we slow down and kind of say like, whatever sometimes, you know? So it won't get done, right? Or whatever, I'm gonna get a B, I guess. Or, well, yeah, you know, I have a thing on my email that says it may take me 7 days. I just can't keep up, right? So like, you know, how can we make these little changes so there's less of this like, I gotta respond to everything, do everything. You know, maybe everybody can also adapt to you, right? It's a modeling also, like text messages can be responded to within 48 hours and emails within 7 days. And if it's really urgent, you know, keep calling, right? Get my attention, right? But it's like, how can we all like soften a bit into like more being and more value of like rest and wellness and less emphasis on achievement, right? So feel free to leave any comments, any thoughts about this topic. All my love. See you with the next video.